You know, sometimes we find ourselves caught up in the rearview mirror of life, looking back, thinking about the things we could have done differently, the paths we wish we'd taken, the opportunities we missed. But what if I told you that looking back is one of the greatest distractions you could have in your life right now? What if I told you that the power, the potential, and the promise of your life are not ahead of you? It's like this: we all get caught in that trap of wanting to know what's coming next. But you know what? There's something freeing about the idea that you don't have to have it all figured out today, that you don't have to know exactly where you'll be 5 years from now, but you do have to start walking in the direction of what's ahead. That's the secret, and it starts with one step forward. God didn't create us to live in the land of regret, to get stuck in the past. No, you're not meant to be anchored by your mistakes, your failures, your setbacks. You're meant to move forward, to press on toward what lies ahead. There's a bigger story being written over your life, and the pages haven't been filled yet. That's why it's time for us to stop focusing on how far you have to go and start focusing on how far you've already come. You might feel like you're standing at the foot of a mountain right now, and the summit is so far away that you can barely see it. But I want to tell you, you don't need to see the whole journey. You just need to see the next step. Because it's not about the distance you've got to cover. It's about the direction you're heading. You don't have to take it all on today, but you do need to take one step forward. I know life can feel like a maze. There are twists and turns, forks in the road, unexpected dead ends. But even in the confusion, even when you can't see the way out, there's a promise for you that God has already gone ahead of you. He's already carved out a path, even when you can't see the whole picture. His word says He's the light unto your path, not the spotlight on the whole journey, just enough to keep moving forward. And I get it, life feels heavy sometimes. You feel like you've been carrying weight that isn't yours to carry. The burden of past mistakes, unmet expectations, and unanswered prayers. It weighs you down. It tells you you can't go on. You're too tired. You're too broken. You're too far gone. But let me remind you, your past does not determine your future. The mistakes you made in the past don't define you. The setbacks you experienced do not set the limits for your future. So stop looking at how far you still have to go and start celebrating how far you've come. Think about it for a second. Look at everything that's brought you to this point. All the obstacles you've already overcome, the hurdles you've already jumped, the challenges you've already faced. You're still standing, you're still breathing, and that's not by accident, that's by design. That's purpose working in you. You see, there's something beautiful that happens when you begin to shift your perspective from how far you have to go to how far you've already come. It gives you the strength to keep moving forward. It helps you realize that the journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And I'm here to tell you, progress is enough. When we look ahead, we often get overwhelmed. We get intimidated by the mountains in front of us. We look at the gap between where we are now and where we want to be, and it feels insurmountable. But hear me, that gap doesn't define you. That gap is simply an opportunity for growth. It's a reminder that where you are now is not the end, it's just the beginning, and every step forward is a step toward what God has for you. But here's the thing, you won't get to where you're meant to go by standing still. You won't get to where you're meant to be by looking at the distance between you and the finish line. No, the journey is about taking that first step, then the next one, then the one after that. And before you know it, you'll look up and you'll be further along than you ever thought possible. But you've got to keep your eyes on what's ahead, not on what's behind. Because the past will always try to keep you chained. It will always remind you of your failures, of your mistakes. But you've got to make the decision to keep looking forward, because the best is yet to come. And I want to remind you that you are not alone in this journey. The road you're walking on isn't one that you have to walk by yourself. God has already gone before you, preparing the way. He's there in every moment, in every step, guiding you, giving you strength when you feel weak, courage when you feel afraid, and hope when you feel hopeless. But here's the key. He's not going to carry you all the way to the destination. You've got to keep moving. You've got to take those steps forward, trusting that He's with you every single step of the way. But let's talk about the practical side for a moment. How do you take the first step when the future seems so uncertain? How do you look ahead when the path is unclear? It starts with vision. Vision is the ability to see what others can't see. It's the ability to look beyond the immediate circumstances and picture the possibilities that lie ahead. Vision is what allows you to move from where you are to where you're supposed to be. And the thing is, you don't need to see the whole picture to start. You just need to see the next step. So what is your vision? What is the thing that stirs your heart, that keeps you up at night, that makes you feel like there's something greater ahead? If you don't have that vision, start by asking yourself, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you attempt if you had nothing holding you back? That's where it begins. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for all the stars to align, because the truth is, it's never going to be perfect. The conditions will never be just right. But that's okay, because even in the imperfection, God is working. Even in the uncertainty, God is moving. And when you make the decision to take that first step, to look forward instead of backward, to press on instead of giving up, you're going to see that the path was there all along. You just had to take the first step. It's so easy to get caught up in the rear view mirror of life. You look back and all you see are the mistakes, the missed opportunities, the roads you didn't take. And the thing about the rear view mirror is that it's always in your line of sight. And sometimes it seems like everything that's important happened back there. It's like you keep replaying those moments in your mind, wishing you could go back and make different choices, wishing you could fix things. But what if I told you that the only thing the rear view mirror is good for is giving you perspective on where you've been? It doesn't define where you're going. It doesn't control the direction of your life. The problem is that too many of us live in the past. We get caught in the cycle of rehashing old mistakes, reliving old hurts, and trying to understand what went wrong. But when you spend too much time looking back, you miss what's ahead of you. You miss the future that's waiting for you, the opportunities that are just around the corner, the new paths that are opening up. And trust me, the future is where the good stuff is. The future is where your potential lies. It's where your destiny is being shaped. I want you to think about this for a moment. If you keep looking in the rear view mirror, how can you ever move forward? How can you ever step into what's next if you're constantly looking backward? There's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield, because what's ahead of you is always more important than what's behind you. The road ahead is where the destination is, and that's where your focus should be. Look, I know it's not easy. It's hard to let go of the past. It's hard to forgive yourself for mistakes that you've made, to let go of the regrets that weigh you down. But holding on to those things does nothing but keep you stuck. It keeps you from experiencing the freedom and the joy that comes with moving forward. And that's why it's so important to let go of the past, not because it didn't matter, but because the future matters more. The past doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to hold you hostage. You might have made mistakes, but those mistakes are just part of your story. They don't determine your worth. They don't determine your potential. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the sum of your regrets. And when you start to realize that, when you start to believe that, something powerful happens. You begin to free yourself from the chains of the past, and you start to walk in the freedom that's waiting for you. I know it feels like your past is a part of you. I know it feels like it's hard to separate who you are from the things you've been through, but that's the lie. The truth is that your identity is not in your past. Your identity is in who you are becoming. You're not defined by your mistakes, your hurts, or your disappointments. You're defined by the potential within you, by the future that's unfolding before you, by the person you're becoming. And every step forward you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you're not going to let the past hold you back. It's like this. Imagine you're walking on a path. As you move forward, the path is wide open, full of possibilities, full of potential. But the moment you turn around and start looking back, the path behind you becomes narrow. It's hard to keep moving forward when your focus is on what's behind you. And that's exactly what happens when we spend too much time looking at our past. We shrink the space we have to move forward. We limit our ability to step into the future that's waiting for us. So here's the thing. You have to make a choice. You have to choose to stop looking back. You have to choose to stop living in the past. You have to choose to stop letting the mistakes, the failures, and the hurts dictate your future. It doesn't mean those things didn't matter. It doesn't mean those things didn't hurt. It just means that you're choosing to move forward, choosing to trust that what's ahead is better than what's behind. This doesn't mean you forget the past. It doesn't mean you erase the memories. But it means that you stop letting the past control you. You stop letting it dictate your decisions, your mindset, and your actions. Because if you keep looking back, you'll never be able to fully embrace what's in front of you. You'll never be able to experience the fullness of life that's waiting for you. And trust me, there's so much more waiting for you than you can imagine. And I know it's not always easy. I know there are things in your past that are hard to move past, things that feel like they're holding you back, things that seem to define you. But the power of your future is stronger than the weight of your past. The promise of your future is greater than the pain of your past. And when you start looking forward instead of backward, you'll begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You'll begin to see a future where you once saw a dead end. And you'll begin to see that what's ahead is far greater than what you've left behind. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't need to know every detail of the future. But you do need to take that first step forward. You do need to stop looking back and start looking ahead. And with every step, you'll begin to see that the future is full of hope, full of possibilities, and full of promise. When you look ahead, you're not just looking at an empty road. You're looking at a road full of purpose. You're looking at a road that's leading you to the next chapter of your life. And that's the beautiful thing about moving forward. Every step you take brings you closer to the person you were always meant to be, closer to the life you were always meant to live. So stop looking back. Stop letting your past define you. Embrace the future that's waiting for you. The best is yet to come. The road ahead is full of possibilities. And all you have to do is take that first step forward. Your future is brighter than you can even imagine. Keep your eyes on the road ahead. Don't let the rear view mirror distract you. The best chapters of your life are still to come. Too often we get caught up in this idea of perfection. We think that in order to move forward, we need to have everything in our lives perfectly aligned, that the conditions need to be just right for us to take the next step. But here's the truth. Perfection is a myth. The idea that everything needs to be flawless before we can move forward is a trap that keeps us stuck. It's a lie that keeps us waiting for the perfect moment that will never come. The journey you're on, the journey that's meant to move you forward, isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress. It's about looking at where you are now and asking yourself, what's the next step I can take? It's about taking one step after another. Even if that step isn't flawless, even if that step isn't perfect, and trusting that each one will bring you closer to where you're supposed to be. But we get so caught up in wanting everything to be perfect that we forget the power of progress. You see, perfection doesn't bring growth, progress does. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you're going to be waiting forever. There's no such thing as a perfect moment, and the longer you wait for it, the longer you'll stay stuck. The truth is, you will never be fully ready. You will never have everything figured out, and that's okay, because the beauty of the journey is in the progress, not in reaching some unattainable ideal. Progress is what pushes you forward, what keeps you growing, what allows you to move from where you are now to where you want to be. And here's the thing, every step forward counts, even if it's not perfect. You don't need to wait until you have it all figured out before you take action. You don't need to wait until you've become the perfect version of yourself before you start pursuing your dreams. No, the key is to start where you are with what you have, and to trust that as you move forward, things will fall into place. If you focus on progress instead of perfection, you'll start to see that even the mistakes, the setbacks, and the failures are part of the process. They're not something to be ashamed of or afraid of. They're part of your story. They're the building blocks of the person you're becoming. When you're focused on progress, you don't see mistakes as failures. You see them as lessons. You see them as stepping stones that lead you closer to your goals. And when you start to look at every step, every stumble, every setback, perfectionism paralyzes us. It tells us that we have to get everything right before we can move forward. It tells us that if we're not doing something perfectly, then it's not worth doing at all. But progress frees us. It tells us that every step counts, even the ones that seem small or insignificant. It tells us that every imperfect attempt is still an attempt, and that's worth celebrating. Because the truth is, every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to your dreams. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter how many times you stumble or how imperfect your journey is. What matters is that you keep moving. We often look at people who seem to have it all together, and we think that we need to be just like them. We think that we need to have everything figured out before we can move forward, but that's not how progress works. Progress isn't about having all the answers. It's about taking steps, one after another, toward the life you want to create. It's about showing up even when things aren't perfect. It's about trusting the process even when the road is unclear. And it's about being willing to fail, to learn, and to grow along the way. You might be looking at where you are right now and thinking, this isn't good enough. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I thought I'd be by now. But let me tell you, that's okay. Progress isn't about being perfect. It's about moving forward no matter how far behind you feel. It's about taking the next step no matter how imperfect it may be. And when you look back one day, you'll realize that all of those imperfect steps were actually the building blocks of the life you've created. They were the foundation of the success you've built. Because it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing it, showing up, and keeping on moving. Don't let perfectionism stop you from moving forward. Don't let the fear of making mistakes hold you back, because you are allowed to take imperfect steps. You are allowed to try and fail. You are allowed to grow. And every time you do, you move closer to where you want to be. Progress doesn't require perfection, but it does require action. It requires you to show up, to keep going, and to trust that each step, no matter how small, is leading you towards something greater. Sometimes the hardest part is just starting. You think you need everything to be perfect before you can take the first step, but the truth is, the first step is what leads to the next one. And then the next, and before you know it, you'll have built momentum, and you'll look back and see how far you've come. It doesn't matter how messy it looked at the start. It doesn't matter how imperfect the journey was. What matters is that you kept moving. What matters is that you chose progress over perfection. The world needs your progress. The people around you need your progress. And you need your progress. Don't let the fear of imperfection keep you from taking the next step. Don't let it keep you from showing up for your dreams, for your purpose, for your calling. The road ahead is not about perfection. It's about making progress, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, and even when it doesn't look like anything is happening. Because every step forward, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. And one day you'll look back and realize that the progress you made was worth every imperfect moment, every misstep, and every mistake along the way. Because that's where growth happens. That's where transformation happens. And that's where you become the person you were always meant to be. Having a vision is one of the most powerful things you can do for your life. It gives you direction, it gives you purpose, and it provides you with the drive to keep going even when things get tough. But so often we find ourselves lost, unsure of where we're headed or what we're supposed to be doing. We get caught in the day-to-day hustle and forget the bigger picture. And that's when we can lose sight of what we're truly capable of. The truth is, if you don't have a vision, it's hard to move forward with any kind of intention. You end up just going through the motions, reacting to life instead of proactively shaping it. A vision is what makes the difference between just living and living with purpose. The beauty of having a vision is that it's not something that has to be fully realized or perfectly clear from the start. You don't have to know every detail about your future or every step that needs to be taken to get there. A vision is more about the direction you want to move in, the feeling you want to have, and the impact you want to make. It's about having a sense of what's possible for your life and seeing beyond the current circumstance. Because let's face it, if you only look at the present, it's easy to get discouraged. Life can be messy and things don't always go as planned, but a vision helps you rise above the challenges and see past the temporary setbacks. It reminds you that there's more to your story than what you're going through right now. When you have a vision, it becomes your guiding light. It helps you navigate the difficult moments, the times when you want to quit, the times when you feel like giving up. Because when you know where you're going, even when when you begin to understand that you are not walking this journey alone, something shifts within you. It's easy to feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, like everything depends on you and your effort alone. You feel the pressure to have it all figured out, to take every step perfectly, and to control every aspect of your life. But the truth is, you don't have to do it all on your own. There's a bigger plan at work, and you are not walking this path by yourself. The secret to moving forward, to embracing your journey, lies in trusting the process and knowing that help is already there. Trusting the process means having faith in the journey even when it doesn't make sense. It's about believing that while you may not see the whole picture right now, every step you take is leading you somewhere meaningful. Trust doesn't mean that things will always go the way you expect or that every door will open exactly when you want it to. Trust means that despite the uncertainty, despite the challenges, you believe that there is something bigger guiding you. You trust that the timing is right, even when it doesn't align with your own timeline. So often we want immediate results. We want everything to happen now. And when it doesn't, we start to question whether we're on the right path. But the truth is, some things take time to unfold. The process is part of the plan. It's through the waiting, through the hard work, and through the uncertainty that growth happens. Trusting the process doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means taking action, showing up every day, and continuing to move forward, knowing that the pieces are coming together, even if you can't yet see the whole picture. Sometimes we try to rush through the process because we're uncomfortable with the unknown. We want to have all the answers now. And when we don't, we try to take control. We try to fix things ourselves. But the more we try to force things to happen in our own timing, the more we push ourselves away from what's truly meant for us. There's a peace that comes when you let go and allow the process to unfold naturally. It's not about waiting passively. It's about surrendering your need for control and trusting that what's meant for you will come at the right time. The truth is, trusting the process requires patience. It requires you to believe in the unseen, to have faith in the small steps and the quiet moments that often don't seem to make much of an impact. It's easy to look at the big picture and think that nothing is happening, but if you look closely, you'll see the progress being made. Every moment of your journey is contributing to your growth, even when it feels like nothing is changing. When you trust the process, you understand that every step, every mistake, every delay is part of your preparation. It's part of shaping you into who you need to become for what lies ahead. The challenge comes when things don't look like what you thought they would. You picture the end result in your mind, and when the reality doesn't match your expectations, it can be tempting to give up. But that's when trusting the process becomes even more important. It's in those moments of doubt when things don't make sense that you need to remind yourself that the journey is unfolding just as it should. Trusting the process means believing that even when the road seems unclear, it's still leading you to where you need to be. There is a trust that is built over time, a trust that grows stronger with each step, each challenge, and each victory. The more you trust the process, the more you see how every moment is preparing you for what's next. The small things, the seemingly insignificant details are all part of the bigger picture. Nothing is wasted. Every experience, every decision, every challenge is contributing to your growth, your strength, and your ability to handle the opportunities that lie ahead. But it's not just about trusting the journey itself. It's also about trusting that you're being guided every step of the way. There's a force A presence that is with you, leading you, helping you navigate the twists and turns of life. When you trust that you are being guided, it shifts how you approach every decision. You start to understand that the pressure to have everything figured out isn't yours to bear. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to make every decision alone. Trusting the process means trusting that there is a bigger plan for you and that everything is falling into place, even if you can't always see it. Trusting the process doesn't mean that things will always be easy. There will be moments when you question whether you're on the right path. There will be moments of uncertainty, of fear, and of frustration. But it's in those moments that your faith in the process is tested. It's when you face challenges that you learn how strong you really are, how resilient you are, and how capable you are of overcoming whatever comes your way. It's through the challenges that you develop the character and the strength to handle the blessings that will come. And it's through those challenges that you learn to rely on trust instead of control. The more you let go, the more you realize that the process isn't something you have to fight against. It's something you get to be a part of. The more you trust the process, the more you realize that the journey is just as important as the destination. It's not just about getting to the end. It's about how you grow, how you evolve, and how you discover who you truly are along the way. When you trust the process, you're saying yes to the unknown. You're saying yes to growth. You're saying yes to the opportunities that will come even if you don't have all the details right now. You're saying yes to the person you are becoming. And every step forward, every decision you make is a testament to the fact that you trust where you're going, even if you don't have the whole map. As we come to the end of this journey, I want you to remember one thing. The path ahead of you is not defined by perfection, by how fast you go, or by how well you have it all figured out. It's defined by your willingness to take that next step, to trust the process, and to keep moving forward even when the way is unclear. The journey is about progress, not perfection. It's about seeing beyond the temporary setbacks, understanding that the mistakes are just part of the growth, and knowing that the steps you're taking today are shaping the future you're stepping into. Your vision, your direction, your purpose, they are waiting for you. It's easy to get distracted by the noise of the world around you, but your purpose is unique to you. It's your journey to walk. As long as you keep moving, as long as you keep trusting and taking action, you'll find yourself on the path you were always meant to walk. The destination doesn't define you, the journey does. It's through the struggles, the progress, the growth, and the learning that you become the person you were always meant to be. The only thing that truly matters is that you look forward, not far, just forward, and take that next step. So don't let the weight of the world, the fear of imperfection, or the pressure of uncertainty stop you from moving. Trust the process, trust the steps. Know that you are not walking alone, and with each step you take, you're getting closer to who you are meant to become.